morning, and welcome to episode 44 of Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. I'm your host, Tom Moore, aka the Energy Guy. New podcasts drop every Saturday morning at 7 o'clock Mountain Time. So we stream on several platforms: YouTube, Spotify Podcast, and Apple Podcasts. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share us if you like it. If you don't, move on. Oh, man. If you're not following the podcast, you certainly should be, especially if you like saving money and like to learn something new every week. At least I try to squeeze some stuff in that perhaps not everybody, it's not just common knowledge. I mean, if it was all common knowledge, I probably wouldn't be any need for this podcast. But I found that in my 27 years in the electric utility industry that common knowledge isn't very common. So, and the knowledge is suspect. So I'm trying to bring some clarity, perhaps, to some things you've heard over the years, and try to clarify some of that for you. But anyway, yeah, if you like to learn something new every week regarding energy, or particularly electric energy, tune in. And if you know someone out there that might enjoy the show, share it with them. And again, it's typically around 30-minute show, but if you go to settings, and I don't know if you can do this on every platform, but I know you can do it on YouTube, go to settings and increase the speed to 1.5 at least. It's 1.5 times their normal speed. So it'll shorten the show considerably. If you go to 200%, I talk awful fast without taking any breaths. I call that my Ben Shapiro mode. It will be a 15-minute show instead of a 30-minute show. So keep that in mind. So this week we're going to discuss lighting, and lighting is kind of a big consumer of your overall electric bill. And I've shared the pie chart. You can just go into photos on my on the Facebook page, Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy, and find a little pie chart, and it breaks down what appliances consume the most, or what percentage of your bill on average every month. And lighting comes in at 10% of your monthly electric bill. Now, we can cut into that and bring that percentage a little lower. And you can do that a number of ways. Just turn lights off when you leave a room. I mean, that's practical advice. But we're going to dig a little deeper, and we're going to talk about lumens. We're going to talk about wattage. We're going to talk about degrees Kelvin. We're going to talk about life expectancy for these different type of bulbs. Light appearance, that is either warm or cool, and of course that comes down to degrees Kelvin. But we'll dig in a little bit and not try not to confuse you too much. But so I suggest you look for what I call the nutritional guide on lighting, and I call it nutritional guide because it looks like that nutritional guide. It's like a little rectangular box, white with black print on most food products, and it tells you the number of calories and the number of fat and the total carbohydrates and so on and so forth, number of servings, this, that, and the other thing. This is just chock full of good information. I guess it's confusing at some point. One of these days I'll go over that, the nutritional guide for food. But today we're going to go over the nutritional guide for lighting. And on most bulbs packaging, you can find this little nutritional guide. It's actually called Lighting Facts. And I put an example of that yesterday on our Facebook page, Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. You thought I'd forgot about that. I haven't. I won't. I'll never forget about that. You may. I may lull you to sleep and you'll sleep right through it. But there's a gnat in here. There's been a gnat, like an infestation of gnats in our office over the last month. And about every 2 or 3 days, I got to kill one because it's flying right in front of my face. Earlier, I was typing on my computer and it went right up my nose. This gnat. Anyway, so what do we make of this chart? I put one up on our Facebook page, and again, it's called Lighting Facts Per Bulb. So the first on this particular package, I think I got it. Brightness, and brightness is measured in lumens, LUMNES, lumens. So this particular one was 500 lumens. Estimated yearly energy cost, 84 cents. And that's based on 3 hours a day at 11 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's about what our rate is here at Farmers Electric Cooperative. Again, Farmers Electric Cooperative is the one who sponsors this show. Okay, that's who I worked for my entire utility life. Farmers Electric Cooperative Incorporated of New Mexico, based out of Clovis, New Mexico. So that's where we're broadcasting this morning from, a recording studio here at our headquarters. So here's the life expectancy based on 3 hours a day is on this bulb is 22.8 years. I don't know if I'm even going to be around, and I'd be blessed if I had another 22.8 years, almost 23 years. That thing is still right here. I'll get it before the show's over. The gnat. Or is it gnat? Maybe that got it. Yeah, so can you imagine? Maybe the Lord doesn't give me 22.3 years, and I change a bulb, and that's the last time I ever change it. That thought just baffles my mind. I've changed so many bulbs over the years. Of course, I was used to incandescent bulbs. And then after incandescent bulbs, which is a traditional bulb, we moved on to, with a filament, then we moved on to CFL, compact fluorescent lamps. Those are the ones that kind of look like an ice cream cone, And, they're decent. The problem with them is they don't get up to full light capacity for about 10 or 15 seconds. You certainly never wanted to put one in a closet, because how long are you in a closet? Typically about 10 to 15 seconds. So you couldn't see well. Another thing that not good for compact fluorescent lighting, CFLs, is on and off, like on for, 15 or 20 seconds, then off. That's just not good for them. It puts wear and tear on them, and actually, in effect, will shorten the life expectancy of those bulbs. But incandescent, that really didn't hurt them too much, a little bit, but LEDs on and off doesn't really affect them much. So really, the superior bulb, I'm going to cut to the chase here, is LED lighting. It's almost 9 minutes after the hour. We're going to pick it up a little bit because we do have today this day in history and some birthdays and some deaths on June 20th. This summer is flying by, folks. Can you believe it's already June 20th? The summer solstice, I believe, is June 21st, which will be Sunday, so that would be the first day of summer. But then the days, that's the longest day as far as lighting goes. Speaking of lighting, you have the most light on June 21st, and then after that, like June 22nd, the sun's going to drop a little earlier, and then so on and so forth until we get to fall. So enjoy this weekend, because it's a couple of the longest days, as they say, are the most 2 days of the most light available all year. So have a great weekend. But first, you got to start it off on a good note, and that's by listening to Morning Buzz with Energy Guy. Light appearance. We talked about that a little bit. You either have warm light, which is a little more yellow, kind of like a fireplace or candlelight. Then that's one end of this spectrum. Let's say it's on the left side, and on the far right side of the spectrum, you've got cool light, which is more of a bright white, almost a blue, cold. That's why they come up with a cold, because it looks like icy cold. So the best light is somewhere in between those two. Not really one extreme or the other, but somewhere in kind of politics. The extremes aren't necessarily great, but somewhere in the middle is always better. And on this one, energy use 7 watts. So it's a 7-watt LED bulb. And that's the example I gave you on. It also gets the Energy Star rating, which is something you need to look for, which is that little blue square. It says in script or in cursive, it says energy, and there's a star. And then down below it, usually in block lettering, all caps, Energy Star. So if it gets the Energy Star label, that means you may pay a bit of a premium for it, but in the long run, over its life expectancy, you get that premium back and then some. That's what determines Energy Star product, and that's a label that the Department of Energy puts on products, electric products. So speaking of Energy Star, Morning Buzz with Energy Guy is the only podcast awarded the prestigious Energy Star label. So what they're saying is you're getting whatever it costs you to listen to the show, you're going to get that value plus some. So I'm promising you 0 because it doesn't cost you anything to listen to the show. But anyway, maybe part of your life. Let's dig into this a little bit. So I put together a comprehensive little notes regarding residential LED lighting, including how LED compare to CFL and incandescent bulbs, how much money they can save. And I did a little math in here. We'll go over that quickly here in a bit, and how to choose color temperature in Kelvin, degrees Kelvin, and wattage equivalents. So a quick summary. For most homes today, LED bulbs, and I mentioned this earlier, are the best choice. And here's why. Because they, number one, use 75 to 90% less electricity than incandescent bulbs. Okay? They last 10 to 25 times longer. They turn on instantly and have full brightness. They produce less heat. They are available in many color temperatures and brightness levels. As a matter of fact, speaking of color temperatures, you can get one bulb that may have a remote control on it, and you can change, you can go every color in the color spectrum, plus like I have a little party mode. So if it's somebody's birthday and you want to change out your light in a bedroom or two, like the kid's birthday, and turn it on a party mode, and the little kids that are invited over can dance around and have a good time. You can put it on Veterans Day. They say maybe put a green light on your porch light. Well, you can do that with an LED that you can program the color. Just program on Valentine's Day. Maybe you want to program it to be pink. On Christmas, maybe you want to program it to be like a darker green or a red. Maybe they toggle between those two. There's just the things available in lighting these days are really. I don't know if we need to spray for these things or not, but I just killed another one. I'm talking about the gnat from earlier, or gnats. Anyway, the possibilities are limitless on lighting these days, but the limit is this: it really needs to be an LED, and you'll understand that fully by the time we're done. Let's talk about LED versus CFL versus incandescent. And here's I'll say the category, then we'll talk about each one of those. And so energy efficiency, LED is excellent. CFLs are good. Incandescent are poor. Typical lifespan, LED is 15 to 50, 15,000 to 50,000 hours. Well, on the low end of that spectrum, 15,000. So that's like the lowest. That's an entry-level LED life expectancy. That's almost 14 years using a light bulb 3 hours a day. 14 years. And that's the low end. 50,000, I don't know. I just see the 3 into that. That's like, it's going to be close to like 30 years. More than that. Even more. Be 40. I'm not doing the math in my head necessarily very good, but a long time. Let's just put it that way, a long time. CFLs, they last pretty good, 8,000 to 15,000 hours. Incandescents are not as good. 750 to a high of 2,000 hours at 3 hours a day. Heat produced, LED, very low. And heat produced typically means more electricity, right? Electricity produces heat. And even these flat screen televisions, they're big users. I mean, you can walk by those and feel the heat, particularly in the wintertime. They feel you can just almost cozy up to them like you would a fireplace. So if you want a little ambiance and warmth, put on the little video of a fireplace if you don't have one, and then just cozy up to the TV, because they do put off quite a bit of heat. But these LEDs don't. They don't put off. They've got very low heat produced. CFLs is moderate, and incandescents are very high. And for the older crowd out there listening, if you ever tried to change an incandescent light, and while it was still hot, that was scalding hot. I mean, super hot, so hot that you should not touch them. LED, you can change them all day long, not worrying about being burned. Instant full life brightness, LED, yes, and we talked about that a little bit, like in the closet. CFL is often delayed, and I told you that it takes 10 to 15 seconds with a CFL to get to full brightness potential. And by then, you're already out of the closet. And, of course, that on and off is going to kill that CFL in a short amount of time. So go ahead and change folks, go through your house, count the number of lights you've got, and change them if you haven't already to LEDs. It's really become a no-brainer. Oh, and let me give a little plug in for the Restore, and that's the store that works with Habitat Humanity, and they've got a little retail store here in Clovis, and some of the towns Clovis size or larger. Most towns do have a Restore. That's Restore, Restore. And they have CFLs. I mean, they don't have many CFLs. I'm sorry. They've got LEDs. I mean, next to nothing. A 4-pack of 10-watt, 3,000 Kelvin. So that's the warmer light. We'll get that in a minute. 17 after the hour. And for like $1, you get 4 bulbs. That's a quarter a piece. And you're talking about what, 15, 30. Between the 4 bulbs, you're talking about 60 years of life expectancy. I mean, it's really baffling that they made something that will last that long. Cost to operate? Oh no, let's talk about this a little bit. Mercury content. LED doesn't have any, 0. CFL does have mercury content, and because of that, you need to dispose of them properly. And incandescent has no mercury. Dimmable, many models are LED. CFL has limited dimmability, I guess is a word. And incandescent, yes, they are dimmable in most cases. Durability, LED is high. CFL is moderate, and because they will break. It takes a little bit to break them. And incandescents have low durability. They will break fairly easily. What is an LED? What does that stand? We already talked about CFLs. That's compact fluorescent lamps. LED is a light emitting diode. If you didn't know, I told you you're going to learn something. If you haven't already, that's what you're going to learn. Let's go into this math a little bit. Suppose a light is used 3 hours a day, and that's the one we use because typically on average that's what a light burns at home. Now I'm not talking about the office necessarily. We know the office lighting's on 8 to 9 to maybe and perhaps 10 hours a day. Traditional 60 watt incandescent. Okay, and that's going to be the comparison here, and we're only going to compare it to LED because we're really going to dig in and start talking about LEDs more so than anything. But traditional 60 watt incandescent, the power it uses is 60 watts. Here's how you get the annual consumption. So 60 watts times 3, that's your 3 hours a day, times your days in a year, that's 365. So it comes out to 65,700 watts. So that's a big number. We really don't want to deal with a big number, so we're going to reduce that by dividing by 1,000. It'll give you kilowatt hours. That's the time element, the hours part. And the kilowatt means 1,000. So we're going to shorten that from 65,700 to 65.7. kWh. And that's how we bill people, is in kWh. So over a year's time, that'd be 65.7 kilowatt hours times 11 cents. That's what we charge per kilowatt hour, equals $7.22 a year. That's for one bulb, 60-watt incandescent. And the typical household may have about, what, let's say 50 light bulbs, okay, in total. So you multiply $7.22 by 50, that's $361 a year, okay? So here's how an LED will go to work for you and start making you money, because obviously at $361, that seems kind of expensive to me. There's a number of things I think I could do with $361 that I'd rather do. I mean, of course, I enjoy the lighting, but at the same time, if I can somehow save a big chunk of this, I'm going to do it. And you can spend it on something that you've been putting off, or you can put it in the bank and start, drawing some interest, maybe some compound interest if you put it in the market. But anyway, so now we're dealing with an 8-watt LED times 3 hours, a day, times 365 days. That's 8,760 watts. Now there's another big number. We want to divide that by 1,000, right? And we want to make it kilowatts hours, because we have the time element in there. So it's 8.76 kWh. So 8.76 kWh times our rate, 11 cents, equals 96 cents a year instead of $7.22 a year. Multiply that 96 cents times 50, and it's $48 a year, compared to $361 and we're talking about 50 light bulbs here. $361 for the incandescent, $48 for the LED. That means savings that you can put in your pocket. This is the bottom line. $313 in savings a year. $313 a year. So pretty awesome. Let's look at some wattage comparisons with 22 after. Incandescent, this is many people, grew up buying bulbs based on watts. So we talked about watts all the time. So we do talk about watt equivalent. But with LEDs, you really should focus on lumens. That's the brightness. So we're going to talk about wattage and lumens. So 25 watt equivalent in LEDs is 2 to 4 watts, and that's 250 lumens. A 40 watt incandescent is 4 to 6 watts in LED, or a 450 lumens. Remember, my example was that I had the lighting facts on, and it's on our Facebook page, Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. It was 500 lumens. So a 60 watt incandescent is equivalent to an 8 to 10 watt LED, or 800 lumens. 75 watt is equivalent to an LED of 11 to 13 watts and a lumens output of 1100, and so on and so forth. That goes up. Let's look at 100, because that's a typical lighting that people enjoyed for years. Was a 100 watt incandescent. So the equivalent to that in LED to 100 watt is 14 to 17, with a lumen output of 1600. So let's explain lumens. Lumens measure brightness. Think of this. Watts equals electricity used. Lums equals light produced. Okay? And here's some typical use of lights in your house, and I'll tell you what the lumens should be. Like night lights or accent lighting, 250 lumens. Bedrooms and lamps, 450 to 800 lumens. Living rooms and kitchens, 800 to 1100 lumens. Says each one of these rooms you want to see a little better, right? Because night lights are in the hallway at night. So all you need is something to light your path. Bedrooms, you don't want overwhelming light because you're trying to go to sleep, right? So you want to start dimming that light. Living rooms, now you're wanting to enjoy family and family time and playing cards or, playing board games or whatever. You want a little more light. Living rooms and kitchens, 800 to 1100 lumens. Now, workshops where you really have to see things that you might be working with, some power tools or whatever, and you want your lighting to be very good. So in there, you want about 1600 lumens. Degree Kelvin explained. This is the temperature. This is the color. Kelvin measures the color appearance of the light. Lower numbers look warmer. And I talked about that spectrum. And it looks more like a fire or a candlelight. They're more yellow or warm. That makes you feel warm. Higher numbers look cooler, make you feel colder. They're like a white or almost bluish light. So on one end of the spectrum, a 2200 Kelvin is like candlelight amber colored, and that's really kind of a decorative lighting. For living rooms, you want maybe a 2700 Kelvin. That's warm, soft white, and that's for living rooms, bedrooms. And now let's jump down to the kitchen. You want a better light, right? So 3500 Kelvin. That's a little wider. It's kind of a neutral, but it gives you a sense of control in the kitchen because you can see things better. And then, of course, the garages and the workshops, that degree Kelvin is going to jump up, as are your lumens. So you're looking at a 5,000 or 6,500 Kelvin for garages, workshops, and things like that. Most popular choices for like 2,700 Kelvin, the soft white, the more yellow light, looks like a traditional incandescent bulb. They're good for bedrooms, living rooms, and dining rooms. And they create like, what's the word I could use here? Cozy, maybe a relaxing, warm atmosphere. So move up to 3,000 Kelvin. That's kind of a warm light, still warm. One of the most popular modern choices. Good for entire homes, open floor plans, and hallways. Creates a clean appearance, still warm and comfortable though. 4,000 Kelvin. It's more neutral, but it's leaning towards cool white. Popular for task lighting, good for kitchens, bathrooms, home offices. And it creates a crisp, bright, modern look. And then 5,000 Kelvin is very bright, almost blue, good for, we've talked about it already, and you probably already know this, garages, workshops, and utility rooms. 27 after, we're going to have to pick it up a little bit. Best LED recommendations by room. Living room, 27 to 3,000 Kelvin with 800 to 1,100 lumens. Bedroom, 2,700 Kelvin, dimmable if possible. That's for ambiance. Kitchen, 3,000 to 4,000 Kelvin, brighter output. You can see better. Bathroom, 3,000 to 4,000 Kelvin. That's good vanity lighting. You ladies that are out there listening that use vanity lighting to do your hair, you understand that's some of the best lighting in your house. It's nice and bright. Garage and workshop again, 5,000 Kelvin. That's higher lumen output also. So advantage of LEDs over all the others, over incandescents and CFLs, compact fluorescent lighting. Lower electric bills, typically 75 to 90% less energy than incandescent bulbs. Long life, a 15,000 hour LED used 3 hours a day can last roughly 14 years. That's a long time for one bulb. And 15,000 is really on the low end of LED's life expectancy. Some of them are as high as 20,000. Less heat, incandescent bulbs waste most energy as heat. We talked about that a little bit earlier. LEDs stay much cooler, reducing air conditioning loads. That's something I hadn't mentioned, which is true. You have 50 of these bulbs that are putting off, 75 to 90% less heat. Your air conditioning load's going to come down. And of course, it can also become a burn hazard, whether your hand, when you try to change one that's just been on, or if it's up against a piece of material or something like that, it could actually cause a fire. Better light quality. Modern LEDs provide high visibility, multiple color temperatures, smooth dimming with compatible dimmers, and they're also environmentally friendly. No mercury, fewer replacements, lower energy consumption. Here's a few quick mistakes that somebody can make. Buying by watts instead of lumens. Always compare lumens. Okay? Using daylight, 5000K, the whiter, brighter, bluer everywhere. Many homeowners find daylight bulbs too harsh in living areas. Mixing color temperatures. A room with both 2700 Kelvin, that's the warm, and a 5000 Kelvin bulb, which is the colder bulb, often looks inconsistent. And it can make your walls look dirty, particularly like gray walls. And try to keep adjacent rooms within one color temperature step. That's about it on lighting. There's some more, but I really don't have time. We wanted to go into this day in history, and I'm going to do that quickly. Let's see. 1940, telegraph patent was granted to Samuel Morse. You heard Morse code, right? That's where the term comes from Samuel Morse. He received a patent for the telegraph, helping revolutionize long-distance communication. This is June 20th. And that particular one was 1840. June 20th, 1863, it's during the Civil War, West Virginia joins the Union. West Virginia became the 38th state during the American Civil War. It seems like a kind of a crazy time to do it, but I think it was politically motivated, and they were able to get that done. 1963, the hotline, the red phone, as we used to think as children. I thought that was going to be a bigger deal when I was a kid, was that somebody was going to use that red phone. It was the United States and the Soviet Union created a direct communications link after the Cuban Missile Crisis to reduce the risk of nuclear misunderstanding. In 1975, June 20th, and I remember this, Jaws premieres. Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg, was released and became the first modern summer blockbuster. It's crazy. It was so scary for some people. I mean, it made me uncomfortable at a lake, and be skiing and come off the skis and be waiting for the boat to come around. And all of a sudden I have visions of, the shark from Jaws getting me, the great white. But some people were so scared. They were petrified. I mean, they were really scared. Some people refused to take a bath. So, nuts. June 20th birthdays. Lionel Richie, 1949, singer of such hits as Hello, All Night Long, and Endless Love. Nicole Kidman, 1967, Academy Award winning actress known for films such as Moulin Rouge, The Hours, and Big Little Lies. Nicole Kidman was married to Tom Cruise for a while, but who wasn't? John Goodman, 1952, known for Roseanne, The Big Lebowski, and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou. I really liked his role there. And many voice roles, including James P. Sully Sullivan in Pixar's Monsters, Inc. So Sully was voiced by John Goodman, born on this day in 1952. Brian Wilson, 1942, legendary songwriter and creative force behind the Beach Boys. Anne Murray, 1945, one of Canada's most successful recording artists. Errol Flynn, 1909. He didn't live long, and he was a Hollywood heartthrob for the ladies. He died in 1959 at the age of only 50. But classic Hollywood swashbuckling star of Robin Hood and Captain Blood, especially well known for his silent role films. Or his roles in silent films. How about that? And here we have some notable people who died on June 20th. Donald Sutherland, that was one of my favorite actors, acclaimed actor known for MASH, Ordinary People, and The Hunger Games, and The Dirty Dozen. And if you haven't seen The Dirty Dozen, that's one to watch. It has a bunch of great stars in it. It was a really cool movie. Anyway, he died June 20th, 2024. Bugsy Siegel, notorious organized crime figure associated with the development of Las Vegas, Nevada. He was assassinated in 1947 through an open window as he stood in his living room, and it was believed that it was a personal vendetta of someone else in the rival mafia gang. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for another podcast of Morning Buzz with the Energy Guys, and we will see you guys next week.